In May 2024, a mother of four, Nikki Saelee McCain, vanished without a trace. No one, not even her husband, could explain her sudden disappearance. Over the past few months, this case has captivated not just her local community, but true crime followers nationwide. But as the days turned into weeks and now months, the answers everyone hoped for remain elusive. This is a story that raises more questions than answers. How does a mother of four simply disappear? What happened on that fateful night when Nikki was last seen driving away from the hospital? And why, despite so many red flags, has justice been so difficult to achieve? Nikki's case is not just about a missing person. It's about a system that seems to have failed her. A system where domestic violence, power dynamics, and jurisdictional barriers have all played a role in complicating the search for the truth. This is not just a story of a woman gone missing, but of a family torn apart, a community in turmoil, and a desperate search for justice. Nikki was a beloved member of her community, known for her warmth and dedication to her family. But behind the smiling photos and the seemingly perfect life, there were darker truths. A marriage marred by allegations of abuse, a husband with a troubling past, and a community that may have been too quick to look the other way. As we explore the details of Nikki's case, let's remember that this is not just a story for us to consume, it's a call to action. A reminder that we must be the voice for the voiceless, to ensure that Nikki's story is not forgotten, and that those responsible are held accountable. So stay with us as we delve into the haunting mystery of Nikki Saelee McCain. On the night of May 17, 2024, Nikki Saelee McCain was last seen at Mercy Hospital in Redding, California. She was there with her husband's family, supporting her brother-in-law who had been admitted for treatment. Everything seemed normal until the early hours of the next morning. That's when Nikki sent a text to her sister Chloe, letting her know she was driving their mother-in-law's car back home, just after midnight, and it would be the last time anyone heard from her. Chloe didn't think much of it at the time. It was a typical update between sisters, but when she replied the next morning, something was off. The message, which usually appeared in blue, now showed up in green, a sign that Nikki's phone was either turned off, out of service, or possibly worse. For the next few days, Nikki's family tried to reach her, but with no response. By May 21st, the worry had turned to panic, and they knew something was terribly wrong. When the family reported Nikki missing to the Redding Police Department, the investigation should have ramped up quickly, but instead, jurisdictional issues bogged it down. You see, Nikki was last seen at her mother-in-law's house, located on the Redding Rancheria, a sovereign tribal land. The case was transferred to the Shasta County Police Department, causing frustrating delays in those crucial early days. As days turned into weeks, the situation only became more complicated. On May 25, 2024, nearly a week after Nikki's disappearance, her pewter-colored Chevy Avalanche was found abandoned in a remote, rugged area, over 50 miles away from where she was last seen. The location was desolate, a place where no one would end up by accident. Inside the truck, investigators found nothing. No signs of a struggle, no personal belongings, just an empty vehicle left in a place that seemed chosen to ensure it wouldn't be found easily. This discovery only deepened the mystery. How did Nikki's truck end up so far from home? And more importantly, where was Nikki? Despite the public outcry and the involvement of local law enforcement, the case has been riddled with obstacles. The Redding Rancheria, while cooperative, had limitations on what areas could be searched due to tribal sovereignty, leaving large swathes of land unexamined. Meanwhile, Nikki's family, desperate for answers, began to fear the worst. With each passing day, the trail grows colder, and the hopes of finding Nikki alive start to fade. But the biggest question still looms large. What happened to Nikki Saelee McCain on that fateful night, and who is responsible for her disappearance? Behind the smiles and family photos, there was a side to Nikki's life that few knew about. A side marked by fear, pain, and a desperate struggle to protect her children. Over the years, Nikki had confided in her sisters about the troubling behavior of her husband, Tyler McCain. The signs were subtle at first. Bruises that she tried to hide, excuses that didn't quite add up. But by 2019, the reality could no longer be ignored. Nikki was trapped in an abusive marriage. According to her family, the violence began to escalate. Tyler's outbursts became more frequent, more violent. In one incident, he struck Nikki in the face with a cutting board, leaving a deep gash that ran from her eyebrow to her forehead. Yet despite the visible injuries, Nikki never reported Tyler to the authorities. She feared what he might do if she tried to leave. And with good reason. Tyler wasn't just a man with a temper. He was a man with connections. Tyler's ties to the Redding Rancheria gave him a sense of power and protection. His family held positions of influence within the tribe, and this made it even harder for Nikki to break free. The Rancheria's involvement in the case added a layer of complexity, as tribal laws and sovereignty limited the scope of outside investigations. As news of Nikki's disappearance spread, the community quickly turned its suspicions towards Tyler. How could a man with a history of domestic violence be so uninvolved in the search for his missing wife? The whispers grew louder, and soon Tyler was not just under public scrutiny, but also under investigation. In December 2023, just 5 months before Nikki went missing, Tyler was arrested on charges of domestic violence, false imprisonment, and making terrorist threats. The details of the assault were harrowing. Nikki reported that Tyler had bound her, taped her mouth shut, and poured cold water over her face in a simulated drowning. She escaped, but the fear never left her. For Nikki, the abuse was a daily reality, a life lived in constant fear. And for her family, it was a nightmare that they couldn't wake up from. Despite the charges against Tyler, the court system failed to protect Nikki. And now, with her missing, those same charges have been dropped, leaving Tyler free to walk away from the consequences of his actions. As if Nikki's disappearance wasn't troubling enough, just weeks later, another alarming incident occurred, this time at the McCain home in Anderson, California. On July 6, 2024, a fire broke out on their property, rapidly spreading through the dry brush and threatening to engulf the entire area. Firefighters were quick to respond, but not before the blaze had destroyed multiple vehicles and scorched nearly 100 acres of land. At first glance, it seemed like a tragic accident. Tyler claimed that the fire was sparked by a faulty catalytic converter in one of his cars. But for those following Nikki's case, the timing was far too convenient. Just as suspicions around Tyler were reaching a fever pitch, a fire conveniently destroys any potential evidence that might have been hidden on their property. Neighbors and onlookers noted how unaffected Tyler appeared as the fire raged on, almost as if it was just another day. But for Nikki's family and the broader community, this fire was anything but ordinary. It raised a chilling question. Was this an attempt to cover up a crime? With Nikki still missing and the investigation stalling, the fire seemed like another desperate attempt to erase the truth. Investigators from multiple agencies, including the Redding Police Department and the California Department of Forestry and Fire Protection, were on the scene. Yet despite the obvious suspicion, Tyler walked away with just a citation for negligently causing a fire. No further investigation into the cause of the fire was pursued, leaving yet another gaping hole in the case. For Nikki's family, this fire was more than just a tragic accident. It was a devastating blow to their hopes of finding her. Any evidence that might have been hidden in those vehicles, any clues that could lead them to Nikki, were now reduced to ashes. And with Tyler's casual indifference to the destruction, the community's doubts only grew stronger. The fire was the final nail in the coffin for many who believed that Tyler had something to hide. But with no concrete evidence, the authorities were left with nothing but suspicions and a rapidly cooling trail. As the flames died down, so too did the hopes of finding Nikki, leaving everyone to wonder, how much longer could the truth remain buried? As we reach the end of Nikki Saelee McCain's story, one thing becomes painfully clear. This is a case that should never have gone cold. A mother of 4, a beloved sister, and a friend to many, Nikki's disappearance has left a void that can never be filled. And yet, despite the mounting evidence, the unanswered questions, and the community's outcry, the search for Nikki has stalled. We cannot let Nikki's story fade into the background, forgotten as just another unsolved mystery. Her family deserves answers. Her children deserve to know what happened to their mother. And most importantly, Nikki deserves justice. It's up to us, the public, to keep the pressure on, to continue sharing her story, and to demand that those responsible are held accountable. This case is a stark reminder of the gaps in our system, gaps that allow the powerful to evade scrutiny, that allow abusers to walk free, and that leave victims without a voice. But we won't let that happen to Nikki. Her story will not be silenced. We will continue to ask the hard questions, to push for investigations, and to seek justice for a woman who deserved so much more. So as we wrap up this episode, I urge you to share Nikki's story. Keep her name alive, because the fight for justice is far from over. If you have any information about Nikki's whereabouts, or if you know something that could help solve this case, please contact the authorities. And remember, together, we can be the voice for the voiceless. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Remember, T-REV writes the scripts and edits the videos, and I'm Revi, the Rev Gang family's voice. If you've got any stories you want us to cover, drop them in the comments below. Love and light to you all, and God bless.